Welcome. Tonight's photo assignment is on macro photography. We have Christine here live in studio. Christine?
Hi. How's everyone doing?
And we have quite a few images here. We still have one spot left in StreamYard, and we can if we have any more than that, we can always add a few extra people. Let's see who we've got. We've got Rich in the stream. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
We have Mike, Lewis, and Mike. How's everybody doing tonight? Excellent.
Doing great.
Excellent. Okay.
Well, I figured what we're going to do. We have Fred. We have Fred in the stream. Let's bring Fred in as well. Hi, Fred. Can you hear us, Fred? Okay, I think you got your mic muted, Fred, and Mike has his mic as well.
I have it.
Getting a little bit of audio feedback from somebody. Let's see if we can figure that out.
I'll mute mine. I'll mute mine out.
Let's test that. Nope, still somebody. It might be Mike without the headphones, or it might be Richard. Testing. Whoever just muted, we just fixed it up. Okay, we're going to go over to Lightroom, and we have several images for the photo assignment. The photo assignment was something macro, and after Christine's great presentation 2 weeks ago, we were able to run this photo assignment. And as I said, we had a lot of people submit stuff. We had a lot of people give us information. And as we go through, I will list the information I've got. If the person that is joining us is here in stream, they can talk about their own image. Otherwise, I'll read what I have if I have something. Let's go ahead and get started. I want to make sure that we get this over here on. Okay. This is our first macro image from Teresa Jackson. This is called Prickly, and she just gives me a little bit of information here. Basically, it's a Olympus camera, f2.6 and 1/40th of a second. Would anybody like to start off with this image?
I like the clarity and the way the prickles come off of it, and even the little flake at the top.
That is interesting. It's an interesting composition as well.
I'm not sure what's in the middle.
I think that's a break, Lewis.
Okay.
It looks like a seed broken in half or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
That's very, very interesting. It's kind of one of those perfect square images, one of those very rare opportunities to shoot a square image that really ends up working out. And this is something I used to love shooting on back in the old Flickr days. There was a Flickr group called Squircle, and it was a square that had a circle in it, and this would have been perfect for that group.
Notice the monochrome background really sets the subject off.
Absolutely.
It enhances the green.
Mm-hmm. Really makes it pop. Let's go. What's our next image? Teresa's second image, and this is called Pollinator, and all she gives us is iPhone 8 Plus.
Oh, it's interesting angle.
Christine, what do you think on that?
I like the flakes of the pollen on the bottom of the leaf, and you can see it spread throughout the flower. And I like the angle. It might be a little stronger if the pillar of the flower pointed down to a corner instead of almost straight out, but I like it.
Anyone else with any thoughts on this?
Well, this is kind of a classic shot. Looks like she did a good job getting everything sharp from the stamen all the way down. That's nice.
Looks like I could have lowered the highlights a little bit at the end of the statement.
Yeah, agreed.
Was that focus stacked?
I don't have any information. Does the iPhone 8 do iPhones focus stack by now yet?
Not the biggest idea.
Well, it's the software that does it.
Right, but what I'm saying is, does the iPhone? I'm sure the brand new ones do something like that, but do the
I
iPhones
see
do
what
it in
I don't know.
camera?
Oh, I haven't. No, I don't know.
Very nice, very nice.
Is that wings or something? I mean, what's at the base?
I think it's a bee of some sort.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it now. I couldn't figure out what that was. Now I see the wing and the bee. All right. Okay.
It's amazing how those things get so loaded up and have no problems. Let's go to the next image. Third image for Teresa Jackson. This one is called Spike, and this is iPhone 11 Pro Max.
I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Looks like, I don't know. The orange in the background is really distracting, though.
Looks like a cactus, maybe.
It is a
could
cactus.
be a cactus, yeah. But that orange in the background is really distracting. But it's a nice shot.
If the orange wasn't there, would it be as an interesting of an image though? It would just be kind of whites
Well,
and greens.
actually, for me anyway, it's not too interesting, even if the orange wasn't there.
Gotcha.
Terry says it's a cactus spike.
What do we think about just the spikes and the lines just going everywhere?
I think that if she would have moved over to the right and tried to get those spikes as a leading line to the base of the spikes, it might have been more interesting.
More of it might have been in focus if it was in the same plane coming out. It looks like just that spike in the middle and the base where they're coming out seems to be where the focal point is.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough to do that with the cell phone for sure. Before we move on, I'm going to let Rich. I don't know if you saw the message in chat. I did mute you because we were getting a lot of echo from you. Whenever you're ready to talk, you got it. Just go ahead and unmute. We also have JC joining us, but I don't see JC having any devices connected. You don't need to have a webcam connected, but you do need to have a microphone connected. And you were okay last time. There he is. There's JC. So what we're going to do is as we go through, I'll give everybody a turn to talk because we only have 6 people at a time. That way, people don't really step on each other. Let's go on to the next image. Susan Weber, and this one is called Green Pen F22. She really maximized her depth of field there with that, and a whole 2-second exposure is what she's got here. And her camera was a Canon Rebel T3i. Lens is an actual macro 90 millimeter f2.8 ISO 100. Shot on a tripod, and the subjects were mounted on glass plate over a black hole.
I like this. I wonder if a different color background would have helped the point come out more. The black tip is kind of hard to see a little bit. I like it. I like the composition.
It is missing some kind of like a rim light. Like if she were to put a little bit of light up top and down the bottom just to catch that bottom of that plastic, it would have really made this pop. JC, you have any thoughts on this one?
No, just looking, it looks good to me. I do agree though with I looked at some YouTube videos and I saw them doing some product photography, and I saw the guy add some rim lights or something like this, and it really did make it pop. But anyway, it's a great image to me. It looks great.
How about moving it counterclockwise about 90 degrees?
I think it might have more motion if it was on an angle, actually. It's kind of static.
My thinking was if it's kind of with the point facing up, it would kind of mimic like a building, something that we're a lot more used to seeing.
Maybe. At first I thought it was a building, and then I realized it was a pen tip.
Let's bring Mike in. What do you think, Mike?
I just like the way when you zoom in on something, I would have never recognized it or realized what it was this close. It gives you a whole new perspective.
Yeah. Now, unlike I'm looking at it on another screen, and it's a little bit brighter, Unfortunately, whenever you do any kind of streaming like this, you're never going to get the quality of and the color representation of these images. So it is a little bit brighter on my screen, and that's why we don't do contests that way. So think about it just being a little bit hotter, and although it still could really use a little bit extra rim light, but I'm seeing a lot of really color light variations inside the plastic, which really works out well. Let's see what Susan's next image is.
Susan in Facebook says, I did a blue pen first and had the ceiling light on. We picked up pink light on the far left edge.
Interesting. Let me go back to that. Pink. I'm not seeing the pink light, but very nice. Susan's next image is push pins, and this one is f8, a sixth of a second. Any ideas on that?
I like it, but I wonder if a brighter background would have helped with the darkness. I kind of like the darkness around it, but at the same time, I'd like to see the bottom edge of both the pins a little bit more.
Interesting. Getting a little bit of a report from Cheryl that I may be a little low. Let me see if I can bring that up and see if that works out. Cheryl, if you can give me an audio report in a couple seconds, I'd appreciate it. I agree with Christine. I'm not sure what kind of processing she did on this. Maybe she can tell us that in the Facebook chat. But if these are push pins, they should be reflective metal. So she's either doing a really great job of keeping this metal from reflecting everything else in the room, or she did a little bit of processing to that.
She said she turned the colors to sepia.
Totally to sepia, but you would usually still see a little bit of variation in the reflection. That's interesting. Another thought I would think is and Lewis brought this term up earlier, which was the being kind of static. My thought is, what if you kind of turned it, rotated it a little bit so that it's actually diagonal. Each pin is coming from one corner and meeting in the middle.
That would add a little interest to the angle. Right,
Mary Lou. This is called push pins. I'm guessing these are just standard push pins. And I tell you what, that's a heck of a macro for push pins. Getting those points that close. Let's add Rich to the stream. Rich, do you have any thoughts on that?
These are just pictures that I can't even imagine being able to take since I don't have a macro lens. But when you get to mine, you'll see that I've not done anything anywhere near like that. So, but
gotcha.
They're just cool images. I mean, it's just like, what in the heck are they? I thought they were knitting needles when I saw them.
Oh yeah. Very nice. Susan's third image is pencil, and that is f2.8, 1/30th of a second, and you can really tell the shallow depth of field on this one.
I kind of like how the top edge is a little out of focus, but most of the rest of it is in focus, especially the front part, which is really adds to the photo.
Do you find a problem with that out of focus area in the back, Chris, or is that okay? What do you think about that?
It might be good to have that in focus, but if you chose to have something out of focus, that's probably to me where I'd want it, unless it was maybe the bottom edge, which is in shadow. So that might have helped a little bit.
I'm loving the three pieces. Does everybody see the three triangles? The triangle of the tip, the triangle of the orange, a little bit more orange wood, and the triangle of the regular wood down there as well. That's really interesting. Now on my brighter screen, I'm seeing a little bit of light on the bottom left and the bottom right corner, which is, I don't think it's going to show up on the stream, but that's the only thing I would really nitpick about this. Looking on your display. Let's bring in Lewis. We've got to do our best to make sure everybody gets a little bit of screen time here. Lewis, what do you think about this one?
I like it. I like the detail in the lower part, which is gray, and actually the detail in the upper part. And I agree, there's three different images to look at there. And actually, I think that the out of focus part is suitable for this. Again, I kind of feel static to me. I like to put things like that on an angle. So but overall, it's a pretty good picture, really. Pretty good shot.
kind of like the pen. Do we think maybe if it was standing up straight, it would be a little bit
Well,
more
if
interesting?
it was standing up straight, you might have your imagination might give you a different view of it. That maybe it's not actually the end of a pencil, but I think standing up straight would be another alternative. Yes.
Either way, very nice, Susan. Let's see who's
That's very
next.
good.
Ron Pfeiffer, this is Blossom Macro. Let's see. Did Ron give me any details on this? Let me go over and check. Does anybody want to go ahead and start off on that one?
I love the details and how much depth of field there is to this. You have it from the front to the back, including the leaf veins on the leaf that's behind it.
Ron writes, it's something he did recently and used a Canon R mirrorless built-in set of cues to know if your manual focus is dead on at the focus point. And Christine, I want you to talk a little bit more about that. If another image emerged by tomorrow, he was going to send another one. I think he didn't get a chance. This was done with 5 focus stacked images and a 100 millimeter Canon macro. And the reason, Christine, I wanted you to talk a little bit more about the mirrorless has, if he's got this, I'm not exactly sure how the Canon mirrorless cues are to do that, but I know our cameras have what's called focus peaking. And I know what Christine has found with her camera is she will use autofocus. She'll get in close. She'll switch it over to manual, and then just really slowly move her focus ring, and it will the parts of the image will glow like a color. Right? Is that color is customizable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this image?
I like the color.
Beautiful colors.
That's typical of Ron's work, though. Nice, good saturated colors.
I agree. I like the texture in the background and the texture in the flower and texture in the leaf. They contrast nicely.
Very nice. Let's move on. Good work, Ron. Richard, this is yours, bud.
Yeah. I don't have a macro lens, so I was just using my 50 millimeter fixed lens. I can get a little bit close, and I went out in the front yard and the backyard and was laying down, which is non-trivial. Once I get down, it's hard to get up. And I don't think I got the light quite right on this dandelion that was there. I think it could have been done to make it stand out a little better, but just taking it about f2, I think, fairly narrow, whatever. I did do a crop to make it fill more of the picture, but I decided that I like this one better. So,
Rich, I think it could have been sharper, and if you used a little trick that flower and macro people use is just put a clamp on it so the wind probably moved it. I think that's why the white part of the flower is not quite as sharp as it could have been.
I also have a lot of trouble really nailing the focus, having to do with my eyes. And when I'm laying down, I'm sideways. It's one of my real big problems. So I'm not sure whether it was the motion of the dandelion, which is possible, or just me not getting it right.
Well, I have a problem too. My problem is getting up.
Yeah. Well, getting down is not easy, but getting up is harder. And getting back down is even worse.
Richard, I think you did a great job at faking macro over this. You killed the background out with a 1.8 aperture. There shouldn't be any movement here. I'm seeing on here you shot this at 1/8,000th of a second.
Oh, then there shouldn't be. Yeah.
It just might be a little bit missed focus. But my thought is a lot of people like focus stacking dandelions, and those are beautiful images. But my favorite is to hit the focus right in the middle, and let the flyaways in front and the flyaways in back just go out of focus. So I love this one, and I love the diagonal in the background of the lit grass versus the dark grass as well.
Oh, okay. I never noticed that.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one for Rich. Dwarf Iris.
This is out in the backyard. These things are about 4 inches high. And again, I'm laying on the ground. Well, I did two things. I laid on the ground and put the camera on a towel. And the other way was I took my tripod and turned the center post upside down. and then was operating the camera upside down for some of these. And I can't remember which were which. I could look back because they come out upside down, trying to figure out how to get low.
Gotcha. Mike, do you have any thoughts on this one? Mike Thomas first.
So I love the way the blue pops off of the screen. I'm a big blue fan. The green complements nicely, and then the background's nice and subdued, doesn't compete at all. So very nice.
The other Mike?
Yeah, I like the way it pops too, and the blue is great, and it just it seems to flow very well there, the green coming into it.
Fantastic. How about Fred or JC? You guys feel free to speak up at any time.
I'm just curious, did you blur the background in post, or is that just how the?
No, I didn't do any of that in post. That was just.
Well, I think the blurred background makes that flower pop out a lot more.
Yeah, I just tried to focus on the flower, very narrow depth of focus.
Christine, what do you think? That front flower is a little bit out of focus, and the focal point are the side flowers. What would you rather see, Chris? Is that side flower okay, or would you rather see that front focus?
It looks like he focused on the middle of the flower, which is why the two middle ones are what's in focus. Mm-hmm. I like that, but at the same time, I keep getting distracted by that green leaf that's right behind it that's out of focus. And that's where my eyes keep getting drawn.
Mm. Boy, wait till you see the next one.
Uh-oh. Let's go to the next one. Anybody else have any other comments? Let's go to the next one.
I love the scene here, but I had this one, I'm about 2 feet away, and that thing's, I don't know where it is exactly coming across. But I was trying to get the one kind of the front leaf of the blue flower in focus, and kind of it's kind of surrounded by the ones that haven't come out yet. But it was just kind of a getting down into the jungle picture and kind of accepting what was there. And I did not go back. I thought about going back the next day and trying to do it over again, but it was raining or something like that. I wasn't going to lay out in the lawn. So I left kind of everything in there as is.
Overall, I like it, other than, again, that frond right in the middle that comes across. And that's, I know what you were referring to.
Yeah.
I love the focus of the two flowers in the middle, and then the ones at the side. I like the way that they kind of are close, they kind of set it off and they're in focus also. It was a good thought.
If that front leaf was in focus, or if it went all the way across out of focus, would that be more acceptable, do we think? Because that's my thought. My thought is, if that out of focus leaf completed its journey all the way to the right-hand side of that image, I think it would have made a very, very powerful kind of weighty bottom to that if you would have cropped it a little tighter.
I would have almost certainly just, if I noticed it at the time, I'd have gotten that down there, try to get into the same position, and just pull it off to the side. Take the picture.
Take a pair of shears with you, right? And that's what Susan. I now have Facebook chat open, so we're gonna get some comments from everyone else as well. And Susan says, "Rich, could you have broken off that horizontal leaf?"
If I'd have noticed it at the time, but I was already back up on my feet and I wasn't getting back down. So I still like the picture, but yes, I consider that kind of fatal flaw.
Yeah. Still very nice though. And Cheryl in the chat, she says she likes the rhythmic pattern of the leaves. I think she was talking about the previous one. And Mary Lou, very pretty blue. Matt is saying that the color really pops. And Susan, love the green background bleeds through the blank areas of the dandelion. And that was your first shot.
Okay.
Paul Wilcox, I think I have some information on Paul's images here. Let's see. Coin focus stack. Simpsons figurines. While Paul writes, previous work with coins was rather time consuming and he went with far simpler. Macro via cropping, 105 millimeter, ISO 200, f16, 1/80th of a second, 2-speed lights with built-in diffusers pointing up at the ceiling, plus attached bounce cards extended, camera left, full power, right, 8th power. Black background, using a backpack. Especially when you're shooting macro, you don't need fancy photo backgrounds. Just find something off your desk. And color in the picture doesn't match the actual subject. He was not unhappy with the result, but also not sure how to fix it. Playing with the color, temperature, and tint in Lightroom didn't offer a quick solution. To me, I think they look pretty real to life. I haven't seen the Simpsons episode in a while, so if anybody has, what do you think?
I really like this. I love that Marge is out of focus in the background. I love the shadow on the side of Maggie's face. And I think it's well lit, and I love the concept.
On my screen, Maggie's eyes are perfectly in focus. So Paul, great job at nailing the eyes. If you didn't know who these characters were, would you have known that the mother was that out of focus in the background? Would you have wanted her a little bit less out of focus?
I like her out of focus. Her hands being there like, I'm so proud of my child, is just kind of what I get from this photo.
Anyone else?
I like the way he's got the mother in the background out of focus. But I do know who it is ahead of time, and I know who the characters are. But I think given how small that figurine must be, this is really nice.
Mary Lou in chat says, "I love the bug eyes of Marge." Let's go to Paul's next image. Paul's next image is image number 2. Let's see. I have 2 coin focus stack. Okay, I think this is actually his second image. 85 millimeter with reversing ring, indirect sunlight from window, plus a few boxes placed around the subject to avoid some glare. So he's just using normal desk stuff for making some light flags. Initially, he just randomly dumped the change on a table, hoping for some random placement that would look good. Decided quickly more deliberate placement was desired. It took a while to get the coins placed into the desired positions, and final sequence was 58 JPEG images. Move the camera between exposures with a quarter turn of the knob on the focus rail, which appears to equate to about 1/4 of a millimeter of travel. Triggered each exposure remotely from the tablet with the Canon Camera Connect app after the vibrations settled. Initial sequence of 30 images with larger step size didn't have enough detail. He disliked Photoshop's stacking result, and he was much happier with the results from Zerene, Zerene stacker, which he was able to use. They have a free 30-day trial. And that's kind of interesting, Christine, because you did mention that. Now, you haven't used the Zerene, which we need to check out. But you mentioned 2 weeks ago, try everything. Try everything at your disposal and see what sticks, right?
Right. I even noticed that certain photos I liked better in Photoshop versus, and then there were 3 different ways you could stack them in, oh, my brain's blanking. What's the name of it?
Helicon.
Mm-hmm. And some photos I liked done the A way. There was A, B, and C for Helicon focus, but I thought it was really cool. And it depended on the medium as to which one I preferred at the time.
Anyone else with some thoughts?
This is why I was hoping that the money category would have made the finals for our business meeting to talk about themes, because I think there's a whole lot of possibilities on money, ranging from these macro shots to a lot of other ideas. He did an excellent job. I wonder how he chose 50 something to be the right number of images to take. But everything looks sharp, and the lighting's good. There's no glares or anything that distracts on the metal, so that's great.
Yeah. Anyone else
I like
thoughts?
the placement of the words. You can actually read all the words completely.
I didn't notice that, Lewis. Good observation. Kathy in the chat says, tack sharp. Janet says she loves this one. Julie, very nice positioning of coins. And Mary Lou, wow, that focus stacking is great. That is very good focus stacking. Very
I like
nice.
the ridge lines there on the edge of the two coins on the right-hand side with the copper showing.
Ooh, yeah.
Seems to add a little bit to it.
Yeah. And our next one is black and white quarter Liberty, 24 millimeter reversing ring, electronically controlled aperture, setting desired f-stop, holding depth of field preview button while unmounting the lens and then attaching the reversed. Trying to unpack what he did here. He's holding the depth of the DOF preview button, which is on your camera, while unmounting the lens. I seem to remember Canon lenses, if you stop down to f11 and then you did that, the lens would stay at f11. Can anybody confirm that?
Yeah, I saw a video on it. I was trying to learn how to stack the other night, and I did see a video on that, and they did say something like if you stop it down and hold it there, that it would keep that aperture.
Wow, it's an awful risky move because you get a lot of possible sensor boogers, and just having that mirror exposed with your camera open is it's a little unnerving. And he thought this is a single 5-second exposure, no special lighting, and he used Silver Effects Pro and in the conversion of the black and white. And he's been playing around with all the presets, but he's not really 100% happy with them. So he just moves the sliders around until he's happy, which I think a lot of us do anyway. Does anybody really use the default settings of any kind of a plugin without still going back and tweaking it?
Yes, I'm very lazy.
Are you? Now, how lazy are you, Mike? Are you lazy enough that you're like, I'm going to use what they gave me? Or are you going in and kind of saying, I like this, I'm going to save it as a preset?
I'm so lazy. I picked one favorite Silver Effects setting that I always go to and start with. And
Let me guess which one that is. Can I guess which one it is that you
Sure.
have, Mike?
Sure.
Wet rocks.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, I do too.
Any thoughts?
I think someone else like wet rocks. Fred introduced me to wet rocks.
I love how Liberty is totally in focus and you can see the scratch marks at the base of Washington's neck, but then you see him come up and he's slightly out of focus, but yet you know exactly who it is.
That's a good point, Chris. When you're photographing a person or a likeness of a person, the rule is get the eyes in focus. But here it completely works.
Sometimes you got to break the rules.
Well, there's another rule that says whenever there's writing in the photo, that has to be in focus.
Oh, yeah, true. Any other thoughts on this one? Good job, Paul. Oh, we know who this guy is. Mike Thomas with Melon Baller. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so just going through all the drawers in my kitchen looking for something interesting to photograph. This one I photographed. I think I actually used my wife's point and shoot Olympus Tough to do this in the microscope mode. And then I processed it in Photoshop and Silver Effects to turn it into a nice black and white image, get rid of some of the spots and dots and distractions in the photo.
Very nice. This is what I was expecting on Susan's pins shot. I was expecting kind of those highlight and dark spots on the reflection of the metal. Any other thoughts on this? I love the tones. Absolutely love the tones.
I love the tones. I love the coils, the shadows, the highlights. It's a very interesting shot. And I like the angle, how it goes away, gets smaller as it goes away from the lens.
And I'm kind of randomly bringing people in and taking people out. As I said, make sure you speak up. And if you have any thoughts on these, feel free to just let us know.
Well, I like it because you start from the left and it moves you right out into the upper right of the photograph. That's how my eye sees it.
Kathy in chat says she loves she likes the black and white, Mike. Very nice tones. Acer Sumara, am I saying that right?
Close enough. It's winged seed is what it translates to.
Now, is this a quad tick or a quip tick?
Quad. So the first image, I just shot the seed, and then each one is progressively magnified further. The top two and the bottom left one I did in my with my Olympus mirrorless camera, but I couldn't get with my 60 millimeter macro on that camera. I could not get the detail I have in the bottom right. I actually shot that with my wife's point and shoot Olympus with its microscope mode, and so that's how I just wanted to show the progression from the whole thing to a small portion of the seed. I backlit it. I shot it in a light box. It's actually shot on a white background, and I changed it to black in Photoshop to make it pop better. But the backlighting really helps bring out the detail.
I love the progression of this. I love the concept and how you just take it from full size to close up.
I can see that as a set on a wall for sure. Very nice. Anyone else with thoughts?
I just have one question.
Yes, sir.
When you went from white to black, did you actually just make a selection and use a new black document, or did you color it black?
I actually used the Smart Eraser and erased the white around the seed, and then I put in a black background.
Okay. I have to remember that trick because it does look good. You got nice, when you start changing the background, I have difficulty. That's why I have Luminar 4, and that looks pretty good.
Yeah, if you have to have enough contrast. So like if I tried to use the Smart Eraser on the melon baller, this wouldn't have worked. There wasn't enough contrast, but there was enough contrast that it was easy to remove the background.
Tell me, what do you think about the selection tool in the new Photoshop? Would that, how it selects an object for you? And it cleans it up pretty good.
It works wonderful, and when it comes close and not quite right, you can refine the edge.
Yeah.
I extracted a model the other day who had hair all over the place, and it did an excellent job.
Yeah, they just had an update with that, and it's gotten a lot better. And I just go back to when it was a mess in 6, and it was very difficult to put a different background on. But I was just asking how you did that. I'm done.
In the chat, Janet says very artsy. Susan says bottom right image actually looks like a tree. It does. It looks like a tree with a sky in the background. Ron says the maple seed quad photos are very well done. The four fit together really well, and the detail on the bottom is very good. The color and tones are very good. And Mary Lou is asking what kind of backlighting you used.
I used a LumaCube.
Nice. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Bleeding Heart, Mike.
So this, Bleeding Heart's about the size of a dime. Had a branch of these. I had to, in Photoshop, I had to straighten it out. I had to remove a part of a flower that was next to it. Then I used the Smart Eraser again and erased the white background. I did shoot this in a light box versus out in the wild. And then I used the texture tool in Photoshop to add a green texture to the back, and then just popped a frame around it in Photoshop. And I used Nick to bring a little more detail in the flower.
Anyone else with any thoughts on this one?
Yes. When you said you used Nick to bring out a little bit more, which one, Nick, did you use?
I use Color Effects Pro Contrast.
Is that better?
Yes.
No, but I mean, what you know, like they have, like you have all those different presets in there, and
Yeah,
then like doing the sliding. What was the preset?
It was the Pro Contrast preset in Color Effects.
Okay, that's nice.
Welcome, Bob. You have any thoughts
Hi.
on this image here?
I like the way it has a frame around it.
Absolutely. How about you, Christine?
I love the details. I like the background. And the frame adds to this photo.
Absolutely. Very nice. Okay, what do we have next? Michelle. We have Michelle. I'm not sure. I haven't seen Michelle in chat. I'm not sure where she's at. I was hoping she'd be able to tell us a little bit about this. I'm not sure if I have any. Let's see. Do I have any information from Michelle on these photos? Let me double check. Let me go search in here.
You're behind me now.
Would anybody like to go ahead and talk a little bit about this one?
I love the detail. I think maybe if it was at an angle, it might be a little stronger. The lines kind of take you through and out, but you don't really get to the top left or bottom right corner, and at least I don't.
Anyone else?
I have to admit, I cheated. I saw this photo, which inspired me to go take photos of the same seed. But this has great tonality in it,
Right.
and you can still see those veins, those texture in the seed, and that's great.
I'm seeing F11, ISO F11 100 millimeter Canon macro lens, and I'm seeing a little bit of a sensor booger down on the bottom left. So Michelle, you might have to take it to your camera cleaning guy. Next one from Michelle. This one right here. I think the way that the inner parts are focused, and the little, what are they, pistils, stamen, whatever they are, as they go and connect to the flower. I love the fact that they just blur out into almost oblivion, but not quite. I think that is just fantastic.
I like this one a lot. There's a lot of interesting things to look at in it, not just one thing.
I love the angle they flow you through the photo.
Let's bring JC in. JC, we haven't heard from you in a while. Any thoughts on this one?
I just love it. I love it. I'm a fan of, especially the first thing you look at to be in focus and then to drift off out of focus. And I just love the way she did this right here. And I love the colors on it, and especially that big red going up off to your left there to that corner, and the, what you call them, the stamens, they are in focus. And to me, this is a type of image that I would probably put on my wall here. She did a very great job with the colors, with the aperture to blur all to blur that background like that. And it's a beautiful image. I love it.
Janet asks on the previous image, were they actual colors or was it in sepia? This one right here. I see a little bit of a hue difference in the brown, so I don't think that was colorized. I just think that was a very happy accident that they were so close that they really worked together. Okay, Mark Owens. This is, let's see if I have any information from Mark. I don't think I have information. Let me go over to my email and make sure.
Wow, this is about 30 seconds.
You all right? Yeah, I'm just
we got somebody.
slowly.
I'm not sure who that is. Mark posted 3 photos. He says, these are the copies of 3 photos I posted to the Facebook page. So I don't have much information. This is a 1-second exposure F18 on an Olympus M camera, 41 millimeters. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, he put that on the internet the other day, and those are piano keys.
I love the angles and the highlights on the ends of the dark keys and just the way the lines flow through.
Great.
They are fantastic. Any other thoughts?
Great image.
If I had to change something around, it would be maybe a little bit more light on the back black key, just because it just melds into the background a little bit too easy, even on my brighter screen. But very nice, Mark. Mark's next image is let's see, M&Ms. And I think I remember him saying something on Facebook about this, that this was his favorite snack. What do we think? Do we think that's a ring flash?
It looks like it on the reflections on the front of the M&Ms. He says, playing around with a newly Olympus EM10 Mark II, focus stacked 8 images.
Any other thoughts on this one? No other thoughts. Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good colors. Of course, you can't miss these iconic colors of the M&Ms. And just the detail is fantastic. You can see how you can actually see whatever machine the Mars company uses to put these M's or upside down W's. You can actually see kind of like the stamp mark, which I'm guessing is I guess they stamp them. I don't know how they do it, but almost like if you kind of have a slippery paint and you put a paintbrush down and bring it back up, it kind of leaves those kind of striations in there, and that's just amazing how that detail is there. What do we have next for Mark? What's this? Orchid? Is this an orchid?
That's what it looks like.
Any thoughts on this one?
Has a nice diagonal from lower left to top right.
Absolutely, very nice. And on the computer is on my screen. It's a little bright, which Lewis just said in the chat. The green seems to be a little too bright. The green seems to be a little maybe something that Mark had added. I'm seeing a little bit of a border almost around it, like those are tool marks that he replaced the background in that. Sometimes when you do that, if you go too bright from the original background, then those edges will stick out like a sore thumb.
His information on this on the webpage is orchid from our kitchen windowsill, green cardboard placed behind, Olympus EM10 Mark II, 1/25 of the second f5.4. I think this is a collection of 8 or 10 focus bracketed shots that were blended and photoshopped. Used the ring light again to add some lighting. M Zuko 40 to 150 millimeter
Lens. Gotcha. Fantastic. I got a message from Elaine Hambley. Elaine, if you're watching the stream, I don't have that you sent me any photos, and then when the email came out when I listed everybody, I didn't have you in that list, but I do remember you posting them on Facebook. But you need to email them to me. If you email them to me as well, either we'll bring them in and I'll put them in the stream, or when we're done, remind me and we'll bounce over there and take a look at your images as well. But I don't have an email from you, which I needed in order to be able to put them in the stream. But if you can do them real quick for me, we'll get them in there before we close up. Next image is Mary Lou, and we were hoping Mary Lou would join us and be able to talk about these. But let me see what kind of images which kind of descriptions we may have from Mary Lou. Anybody want to start on a critique on this one?
I love the stripes and the way they go to the corners and kind of swing out to each of the corners.
This one is called Green Lines. It's a close-up photo of a leaf cropped, shot at the Baltimore Botanical Gardens.
Oh.
It almost looks like it's too cropped in. And Lewis just wrote, Lewis, you're welcome to speak, or when you bring up stuff in our little private chat over here, I'll be happy to repeat them out for you. But Lewis says he's not really sure where to look, and I agree. I like the waviness, but I'm kind of missing a subject. Like it's missing a ladybug right in the middle. Lewis has decided to mute his microphone just because of a lot of background noise. Thank you, Lewis. Any thoughts over in the chat? Let's see. Oh, good, Elaine. Yeah, at first I was freaking out because I thought maybe I'd missed you, but she's gonna send them to me an email, and if not, we'll bounce over to Facebook and see if we can do it. Yes, Mary Lou, I've got your notes, and Dolphy's asking is it in focus. I think it's as in focus as it's going to get. Mary Lou, can you tell us in the chat, was this really highly cropped in? And did you add any kind of a filter to it? Because there's a lot of noise. There's a ton of noise in this image on my screen. And we'll see what she says on that one. Let's go to the next one. This one I love. This is called View from the Top. And let me go over to the notes on that. Close-up of acorn caps. This was shot about 1 foot from the subject in her bathroom. Flash bounced off the ceiling. That is beautiful light. What do you think, Christine?
I love the details. If you didn't know what the top of an acorn looked like, you might have no idea what this is. I might even like it better in the brown. It looks like it was converted to black and white, although I do like it.
You're talking like sepia? Goes a little sepia with that?
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be nice.
Mary Lou says on the last image that it was highly cropped.
Highly cropped. It did look like that, unfortunately, Mary Lou. As for this image, we talked about next week's stream, which would have been, which is going to be, how do you take an image out of your camera and make it a little bit more personal, like we had with Quinn Jacobson's talk on the 15th. And my brain right here goes to, and I'm sure Christine's probably is going the same way, is my first thought would be to photograph these acorns, collect some, see if you can leach out some of the pigment of the acorns and like make an alternative process photo print or something like that. What do you think, Chris?
That would be interesting.
But that's kind of taking your subject a little bit further and actually making a print out of it. Do we have any other thoughts from? Oh, Lewis says, "Don't let his wife hear that." Has she ever worked in anthotypes, Lewis, in the plant pigments? Yes, she has. Let's see. Cheryl says, "Oh wow." Julie says, "Wow, beautiful." Cheryl, awesome image, great job. Dolphy says she'd like to see a little bit more contrast. I'm looking at my other monitor. I guess I could go a little contrast here. What do we think here? Anybody else here in the stream here will have any idea on that?
A little focus stacking might have gone a long way, or gotten at least one image with the bottom of them in focus. It looks like the top is pretty sharp, but as it goes down, you're losing the focus due to shallow depth of field.
Does that matter though? Because amazingly, these are all different, looks like all different size of acorns, but amazingly, the tops are on the same focal plane. Anybody else in StreamYard with any ideas? Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Very nice job, Mary Lou. Next one with Mary Lou. High contrast. The close-up photo of a gross, icky mushroom. My words, not hers. Took it in the Silver Effects Pro and produced the high contrast, and she found this in her yard. How big was this mushroom, Mary Lou? Any thoughts on this image?
I like the waves in the top and the straightness of the bottom.
JC, Bob, Fred, any thoughts?
It's a nice...
When I first seen it, I thought it was a filter out of a car, but
Yeah, that's what I did too.
When I first saw it, I thought it was a book. I thought it was like a book kind of that was water damaged or something. But absolutely. Let me see if we have any.
Nice diagonal from one corner to the next.
It is. Would you like to see the diagonal go from top right to bottom left to the opposite, from top left to bottom right?
No.
No.
I mean, if I got my hands on, I would probably mirror flip it and have two side by side, but that's just me.
Well, the reason I thought maybe go the other way is, the way we read left to right. If we were to look at this image mirror flipped, those lines would take us down and to the right, but then we'd hit that center part, and I think it would really disperse us through the image a little bit better.
I like that it could be a book, maybe, if you just glanced at it.
Ron says he likes the composition with the cap in the bottom left. Mary Lou says it's about the size of an orange. And let's see here. Kathy says, looks like a book as well. Jackie says, nicely composed, Mary Lou. Janet, she likes the acorn caps, thought they were rolls at first. And this one looks like pages in a book. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Very nice, Mary Lou. Lewis, these are yours.
Okay. Can you read the camera settings? I don't remember what they are.
I'm showing f22 at a quarter of a second.
Okay. This actually is a dishcloth that I was trying to figure out what to take pictures of, and I saw it. It was it's really tight. You know, I worked hard to get out the texture of the threads actually, and I just put the focal point up in the left-hand corner, and the lines on the right go down to the sharp point on the right lower end, and it just seemed to turn out pretty well. My wife says it's pretty graphic, and of course she's an artist, so that's her comment. So that's pretty much it, really. That was, let me think. It was done in my light box. Oh, I know what I did. I have a light, and I put this cloth over the light to get the backlight through. So it's actually backlit. That's what I did. So that's the story on that one.
Wow, that's interesting.
And this was done on a tripod.
Anybody have any thoughts on this one?
Nice job.
I like the circles. I like the lines coming out of the corner. It looks like a star or sun with rays coming from it.
I thought it might have been a fake orange at first.
Mary Lou says she thought it was a basketball.
Oh, a basketball. Yeah, I could see that. We have Mike back. Mike back in the stream. Mike, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah,
I like the abstract nature. It looks like a sun with sun rays to me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I also forgot it was sharpened in topaz sharpened.
Very nice, Lewis. Let's go on to the next one. Tell us about this one.
Read me the camera settings, please.
1,000th of a second, f2.8, ISO 200.
Okay, this was actually out in the yard. It's actually, I don't know if anyone's familiar with century plants, but century plants put a big stalk up at the end of the year, but this one happened to make it all the way through the winter. And so I'm just kind of out in the yard trying to figure out something to shoot at. And I did shoot this handheld, and but what happened was, as I looked at it, I decided to make that center part sharper and bring it out and burn in all the other parts. The only thing I see wrong with it is that green line over on the left, which is a little bit distracting. But it's a nice little abstract thing, I think.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Elaine says looks like a colored pencil drawing.
Let me think. I might have pushed the contrast a little bit on this to bring out some of the color, I think.
Very nice. Any other thoughts, Christine?
I like it. I like the grains that you can see running through the plant. It's interesting.
Good texture. Very good texture with that. Any other thoughts?
I would have been interested in seeing it in black and white.
Oh, yeah.
Black and white might have been good too. I just never got around to putting it in black and white. Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that from here or not, if you don't mind me doing it, Lewis.
No, go for it.
I don't know why it's not showing in the screen, but
I think black and white is interesting too. Actually, that gets rid of that green distraction in the background. So black and white may be better, actually.
I think changing it broke. I think I broke everything. I think Lightroom freaked out when I changed it out. Wow, there must be something weird with Lightroom. Let's see if I can go to the next image.
Okay.
No, we just completely broke Lightroom. Let me change this.
No, let's reboot it.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can't change this out. I'm going to share the screen. And we're going to go over here and let's see if we can do that instead. There we go.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And let me go back.
Okay.
Let me go back to this one, Lewis. I really want to go
right.
back to the one that
Sure.
that we changed a little black and white sepia.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually better, to be honest with you.
Very nice.
I think the curves and everything comes out better and is more prominent. All right, now this one, this is one I finally gave up walking around the yard. And actually, what this is the braided gas pipe going to my whole house generator in the back. So, excuse me. I'm getting through.
That's okay. Take your time, Lewis. I love the lines. Do you see how all the lines are absolutely perfect and crosshatch?
Right. That's what caught my attention was the lines. That originally it was cropped larger, but after I looked at it, I thought maybe I'd crop it tighter and let it just move from the lower right to the upper left-hand corner. And the light just happened to be just perfect outside. And then I burned in all the other background so the pipe would just stand out. That's about it.
Okay, I think we have everything. I think we should be caught back up in a couple seconds. Everyone's letting us know in the chat that when Lightroom had the problem and we kind of moved over to a different way, we didn't catch we didn't catch the live stream, but it'll be back. There it is. It's back finally on Facebook. But Lewis, this is absolutely fantastic. Again, I think this would be great in black and white, and just crank the contrast up on that.
I think I did try it in black and white, but the reason I didn't put it through in black and white because of the change of the color in the upper part of the pipe. I kind of like that gradual change in the color. But either one, I agree that black and white and really a lot of contrast would be good too.
Christine, what do you think? This seems like something you would shoot.
I like the crisscrosses, and yeah, I like it. I like the diagonal. Maybe putting a piece of cardboard or something behind it might make the background a little more interesting, more solid.
I just wanted to get rid of the background period, but yeah, either way, whatever.
I can see what Christine's talking about. What kind of a pattern? You could probably put an out of focus pattern behind that. That would really make it pop. Like maybe diagonal images going the other way or something.
Oh, that's an idea. I might explore that.
That'd be interesting. Excellent. Let's move on to the next one. Great images, Lewis. Julie, this is Julie's peridot. Am I saying that right, Julie? Peridot butterfly, dragonfly. Excuse me. I'm on another page trying to find if I've got notes from you. I do have notes from you. Shot in full sunlight with her T7i using a 400mm in manual, ISO 100, f9, 1/200th of a second, handheld. Minor Lightroom adjustment, cropped, exposure, contrast, and a little vignette added. What's your thoughts on that?
I like it, but it would be better if the head was a little more in focus.
I'm trying to find out where the focal point is.
I think it's the shoulder blades where the wings connect.
Yeah, I see that. Can we zoom in a little bit? I'm not sure if I can zoom in with the way we're capturing it now. Any other thoughts out there?
I love the color and the way it pops off of that concrete or whatever it's on, and it looks like they did a reasonably good job of getting the depth of field from one wing to the other. You lose a little bit on the far wing. Would have maybe liked to see it head on or more from the front. It's got a nice little angle to it. That's good.
Very nice. Very nice, Julie. Julie's Leaf with Eyes. And she writes, shot early morning, T7i, 24 millimeter in manual, 2.8, 200th of a second, handheld, some minor Lightroom adjustments as well. This is the leaf on her crown of thorns plant with the reflection of its red flowers.
I like the contrast of the green and the red and the drips. I think it's really well done.
Kathy writes on the previous image about the upper right corner being a little bit cleaner, and I do agree. The problem is you really can't pick these guys up and move them. So it's kind of like one of those things. Do you shoot it or do you not? But maybe a little bit of Lightroom, a little bit of Photoshop could really extend that brick pattern back and clean that up. But anyway, back to Leaf with Eyes. Absolutely, I think that is a really strong diagonal with so many great focus points, so many great spots for my eye to grab onto going down to that bottom right hand corner. Let's see, let's bring JC. JC, do you have any thoughts on this one?
I just love the composition of that one. It's to me, it's well composed. I love it.
Because we do have more than 6 people in, if anybody, if I don't unmute one of you guys or move somebody in or out and you have something to say about it, please use that private chat that we have just in the StreamYard and let me know and I will bounce right over to you. But that's absolutely a beautiful shot, Julie. I'd be very proud of this one.
Well done for handhold.
Yeah, right.
Outstanding.
Emerald City by Julie as well. Shot this in full sunlight, 24 millimeter in manual, ISO 100, f2.8, thousandth of a second, handheld. Minor Lightroom adjustments again. Type of iris with a total size of about 3 inches that lasts only a few days and then blooms again. These are the inside petals, which then are 3 that look like tongues. There are also 3 outside petals, which are flat and smooth.
Nice.
I like this. You might have been able to come up with a interesting composition, like maybe cutting off one of the side petals and moving it over a little bit. I mean, I like it the way it is, but I'm trying to think of other ways to present it that might be a little more interesting.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, nice. It's nice.
I think it works well as a centered image.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it'd be as powerful without it. And really good, the petals are really close to the edges, but you're kind of even on both sides. You're almost even on both sides, so it doesn't really bother me at all. Good anchor to the bottom of the image. Fantastic. Maybe a little bit of vignetting up on top. Maybe. What do we think?
That would help.
Yeah. Mike, you have any ideas on this one?
Yeah, I like it looks like royalty. I mean, it just, the purples and the white and the yellow. That's what I like about it.
I like that.
So it looks to me like the focus is slightly behind the center part of the image. It feels like it's on the front part of the petals behind the center. I'm not sure.
It almost looks like, and I agree with you that yes, the focal plane runs through here and also hits, I think this goes backwards. And it looks like it's just scraping across here and going back up. Ron says, Emerald City Flower was really nice. Here is a good opportunity for focus stacking. And the symmetry works very well, he says. Mary Lou says, gorgeous. Janet, very nice. Kathy says she thinks there's a lot of dead space at the top. Kathy, what do you think? What do you think if she were to vignette those top right hand and left hand corners? Do you think that would look a little bit better to you? And Mary Lou agrees. That does look royal for sure. Okay, good job, Julie. JC, do we have JC? Let's get JC in here. JC, these are yours.
Well, first of all, that is my first attempt to do focus stacking. Okay, hey, you can read off the camera setting. I don't remember them, but I went out to the Patuxent Wildlife Refuge, and as you know, these cone flowers, when they first start growing this time of year, they're about 4 or 5 inches off the ground. The head is about the size of a nickel. So what I did, I took my Sigma 105 millimeter lens, and I shot a couple of shots, and I said, "There's no way I can get this thing in focus." So I just decided to try focus stack, and I shot 9 frames right on that head, right on the yellow part, right on the head, and then when I got to the house, I processed it in Lightroom, and then I processed all 9 images, all 9 shots in Lightroom. And then I took it over to Photoshop and stacked it. This is my first attempt at doing focus stacking.
Okay, just lost StreamYard again. I was trying to bring in some of Elaine's photos. I think we should be fixed again. Let me get that. But Elaine, I have your photos. I'm going to bring them in. JC, absolutely. I was trying to get Elaine's photos in. Did you say that? Did you say that the background was? Did you replace the background on that?
No, I didn't do. The only post processing that I did, that's background is actually from the grass that's out there. I get so close to it, and I think, what was I shooting at 5? Was I shooting at 5.6? I think it was
5.6, 1/60th of a second.
Okay, then I was on a tripod also. You know, like you say, laying on the ground almost. No, didn't do any replacement. The only thing I did, like I said, I processed it in Lightroom. Put all 9 shots together in Lightroom. Sent it over to Photoshop, and I stacked it in Photoshop, and I did some spot removal, remove some of the spots out of it. But I didn't add any filters whatsoever with it. It was just, I didn't, just in Lightroom, Photoshop, took out some spots, and I think I do some. I think I might have did a levels or either a curves adjustment to it, and that was about it.
Fantastic. Love the composition. Christine, what do you think?
I love it. I love the way the yellow's in the corner. I like the green background as contrast, and I like the way you have the petals coming out of the center.
Good depth of field on that. Next one, JC.
Okay, that was it. Matter of fact, was it yesterday? I needed one more photo, so I ran over to Berber Lake at Fort Meade. There was a flower there. I was going to shoot the flower, but couldn't get it right. So there's a lot of geese over there. So I said, well, you know what? I'll just do a geese there. And they was lying there. So I took my D500 and my 200 to 500 millimeter lens, and the geese sat there long enough, and I pulled in at 500 millimeters, and I forgot. I knew it was at 500 millimeters. I forgot the other settings, and I brought it to home, and I cropped it in, and I did this one in Photoshop ACR, and only adjustments I did with it was ACR. But really, the only adjustments I know how to do is once I leave ACR is to do levels and curves, or I would take it to a plug-in like Nick or something like that. But I didn't do a plug-in on this one. And what I really liked about it, when I pulled it in, I focus on the eyes. I like the dip of it. You pull that in real close, you can see the details that 500 millimeter lens will give you on the tip of the beak there. I mean, you can just see all the details in there.
Yeah, I love the angle of the eye, nose down to the tip of the beak. And just so you know, your settings were f5.6, 1/80th of a second, ISO 100 at 500 millimeters. No flash on tripod.
Yeah, I started to flip it to make up going, like the way we read. But I said, you know what? Just do a little odd. Just keep it going to the left. You know what I mean? So a left-hand person would like going that way.
Dolphy in chat says she likes the angle, and Mary Lou is asking JC, what is ACR? You want to explain it to us?
Adobe Camera Raw.
And Julie says loves the detail. Janet says so many geese at Berber Lake. She absolutely loves this one. Okay, JC, we've got a third one for you, don't we? Yes. What in the world is this?
Well, that's out at Patuxent Wildlife Refuge again. And I love that place. Well, that's only 2 places I really have to go shoot is at Patuxent and Fort Meade right now. Let's not get down to Blackwater once in a while. If you ever seen dead trees in the woods, those they call them oyster mushrooms. They grow on dead trees. This little guy right here is about the size of a quarter, and I posted 2 more on site. I know our Fred and Mike seen them. I know I posted 2 more on site, but I like this one so much because if you pull it in and look around the edge and look at all of those colors, you can't see these colors. You can't see these colors just looking at it like that. You really have to do a micro on it. And see the little holes and everything in it. They're out in the wilderness there. They're on, and the top part, right, upper right, that's the tree that's attached to. And these things only grow on dead trees. And so I just love going in the woods and picking out stuff in the woods and shooting them. But this is it's an oyster. They call them oyster mushroom that grow on dead trees. Wow. And I forgot the setting, but she has the settings there what I was using.
It's a Sigma 105 millimeter 2.8 macro lens f8, 1/25th of a second, ISO 100, no flash on tripod.
Now, Mary Lou asks, can anyone go to Burba Lake?
Only if you a member of the military or you work on Fort Meade.
Gotcha.
Yeah. By the way, this mushroom here, I found that with my Sigma 105 2.8, f8, f9 is about my sweet spot on that lens there.
Gotcha. Ron says, let's see. Ron says, great photo, clean and crisp. Detail is really nice, and the color and contours of the beak. I think this was the goose. I like the natural background of the goose shot before. And Mary Lou asked about Burba Lake. Now, can somebody with an ID take other people, or is that kind of a no?
If you have a military ID card, you can take anybody on it you want to. But if you just work out there, I don't know the real rules and regulations. I would be afraid to say. But what you can always call is you can just go online and you can always call out there and ask what are the requirements. I don't want to say what the requirements are because I really, really don't know that to be authentic about it. I just know because I'm retired military, so I know what I can do out there. And I know that if you work out there, you can go out, you can go on post, but whether or not you can ride around post and go anywhere else you want to go, I don't know about that. I don't know where you just have to go to work and leave. I don't really know. Okay.
Gotcha. Julie says the background goes so well with the subject. And Janet says, this is so interesting. You want to sort of be grossed out by it, but it's intriguing as well. Absolutely. Looks like a potato chip that got stuck under the couch for a couple of years.
Thanks.
But I mean, that's kind of one of those things, right? That's kind of one of those things that we think about. It's as long as you kind of title it. Sometimes a title will take an image from "ooh, that's gross" to "oh, okay, I understand what that is." So it really helps hearing about it. But yeah, absolutely. If I just looked at this and I would have moved away pretty quickly. But being able to tell us what that is and the significance of it, that really helps out. Any other thoughts on this image? Okay. Good job, JC.
Thank you.
Janet is in the chat. Let's see what Janet says. Wow. I'm pretty sure I've got this is what I was talking about before, where I respect people that focus stack these things from front to back perfect, but you know what? Sometimes just just putting a focus somewhere in there and letting kind of letting it roll. If somebody wants to go ahead and talk about this a little bit.
I'll say something. I just love this. I tried to do some dandelions. I post them online. Mine was just completely, just all clear and everything. But oh my God, she did a great job with this one. The only thing I would have did probably in the lower right-hand corner, I probably would have took out just a little bit of that, brought some more of that white down that way. But otherwise, I love this image right here. I love that dandelion. I love the way she brought that center in there. That the brown purple and also the darkest green for the stem and everything. I think that is great. I love it.
Janet writes, first pick is of a dandelion shot with a Nikon D500, Tamron lens f6.3, 1,000th of a second exposure at 450 millimeter. Did not use a tripod.
Wow.
But the thought is with something like this, do you care that would you care if there is not one single in focus aspect of this shot? If this shot everything was fuzzy, would it be just as impressive? And I say yes. If it was just kind of a field of, you could tell what it was, you could see these colors. I think these colors and the softness just stands out on its own.
Yes, it's nice.
Chris, what do you think?
I love the brown to the white to the
Me
green,
too.
and
Yeah.
that you can tell the individual puffies. I don't know what the technical term is on dandelions, but at the same time that you get the mass effect of them together and how it blurs together along the bottom edge and around the right side. I think it's a very well shot image.
Fantastic. Janet, you're onto something here. Keep working on this, and you've got a knack for these darn things. I have a plenty of in my yard. If you'd like to pick them before those seeds go everywhere and make more, you can have all you can get. Janet's second image. Let me pull up the description. Second picture is the center of an azalea. Took it this morning after last night's rain. D500, same Tamron lens. F18. Good job at really expanding that depth of field. Exposure 1/12/50th of a second. No tripod again.
I like this, but there's unlike the other one from earlier, there's just a lot of white. So the diamond in the middle kind of blurs into the whiteness of the background, and none of the water is in focus, which, I mean, this would be a good one to focus stack and get a nice image. I like it, but at the same time, there's some parts of it that I wish I could see a little better or were in better focus.
And I see it looks like the sunlight was to the left of the camera. You can see the shadow of the parts in the middle on the leaf. This is kind of one of those things where if you would have gone out, Janet, with a flashlight and either backlit it or given it some harsh light from one angle or the other and really bump up that contrast, I think this would have been a much more interesting shot. What do we think? Anybody else have any ideas on that? Let's bring in, hey, Bob. Let's bring in Bob. Unmute your mic, bud. There you go.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with the other comments. It would be nice to see the water bubbles, water droplets a little sharper. Or you could just crop into the 4 brown pieces and make that the image. Mind you, yeah.
Gotcha.
If this is a handheld, it's very good for control of the camera.
Yeah. Very nice, Janet. Janet's third image. This stunning image is, I know she sent me a third image. Let me make sure I've got that one. Janet. Let's see. Third entry. This is Clematis D500 F6.3. No tripod again. What are our thoughts on that?
This is really nice with the shadows.
Yeah, I like this. I like the center of the flower being the center of the photo, starting with the circle there, but having the stymon or whatever coming out of that. I like this one.
Janet says on that previous image she could have used a flash maybe. As long as it was off camera. If you've got something that's remote or you've got a hot shoe cable, you can send that flash over the right or left. But the great thing about macro photography is everything's so small. Just any kind of a flashlight is going to be the size of a 6-foot octobox compared to a lot of these small things. So it's amazing how many things. And when Christine was shooting her things for her talk the other week, I mean, she had gels and flashlights and all kinds of stuff going around, and it looks the best because sometimes when you put large lights in there and doing that, it's way too soft of a light. As far as this image is concerned, I love the colors. I almost think there might be a little bit of a different angle, kind of really focusing in more on that centerpiece while allowing some of that purple to shine through. But definitely keep working on that. It's a nice image. Next is Jackie. I know I have some information on Jackie's. Let's see if I can find them. Okay. Go ahead and Chris.
I really like this. I like the blue jewel up front and the out of focus jewels behind it, and the different colors. I think I really like this image.
I thought I had some information on Jackie's. I don't. It looks like she just sent them to me. So Jackie, as we go through, can you tell us a little bit about this? This one's called Tanzanite. And if I didn't know better, I would have thought this is something that Bob would have photographed. Bob has an unhealthy obsession with colored glass.
But he didn't mirror it.
This says it's Tanzanite Canon 100 millimeter macro lens, 2.8, 1/100th of a second, lit with a LED flashlight. The stone is about 1/4 of an inch long.
Wow. Any thoughts on this one?
Great separation of the blue object to everything else.
I'd love to see, kind of speaking of flashlights, I would love to see the subject become the light as well. Try to shoot some light through those different colored gems and just see what kind of color happens in your scene.
That would be spectacular to do that.
Yeah. Very nice, Jack. You can see the f2.8 at 100 millimeters, 100 millimeter macro. I mean, you can see that just razor thin depth of field there. Do you see it to the left of the blue bead? Those little hairs right there. Let's go on to the next one. This one is called Dad's Work. Chris, I think you're checking out a little bit more detail on the descriptions on Facebook. Does Jackie say what Dad's Work means?
It says Tanzanite, peridot, and blue topaz. It's with a Canon 100 millimeter macro lens, f9, 1/25th of a second, ISO 800, underlit with an LED flashlight underneath, 2 layers of white t-shirt.
Wow. At first I thought, maybe the t-shirt texture wasn't the right way to go, but then I saw the texture through the gems and I absolutely fell in love with it.
I love the texture, and I love the way that the yellow gem reflects off of the back blue gem a little bit there to the left to add that little bit of green to the side of it. I think this is another well done image.
Let's bring in JC. We haven't heard from JC in a while. JC, you have any thoughts on this one? What do you think about that texture through the gem?
It's just great. Only thing that I love the whole image, but I just think the background to me is a little bit too dark, but it's still great though. I would have probably liked it just a little bit for me, but I love that texture. I thought it was a paper towel. First of all, I didn't know it was a t-shirt because it has a little dimples in it, like paper towel or toilet paper. I thought it was a paper towel.
Huh?
But it looks good.
Very nice. Jackie wrote in the chat that her dad cut these gemstones. Really?
Wow.
My dad cut these stones. Wow. You need to bring those into one of our tabletop nights, Jackie, if you haven't already. Those are spectacular. Amazing. Let's move on to our next image.
She said the flashlight was about the size of a quarter.
Oh my goodness. Could you imagine? I can't imagine her dad cutting these so amazingly with that size. I mean, absolutely. Next one is bearded. Do we have any information on what kind of flower this is, Chris?
It says bearded iris, Canon 100 millimeter macro lens, f5, 1/320th of a second, ISO 400, taken on a walk in Downs Park, natural light, handheld.
Fantastic.
I love the blues in this. I love the focus of the middle white part coming down out of the top. I think it's well done.
Yeah.
Anybody else with some thoughts on this one? What do we think about the colors? Even on my screen, the center pieces are definitely tinted blue. And those fingers that come out have almost a little bit of warmth, like they're just starting to scrape on a little bit of warmth, but they're not quite there. Do we like the image the way it is, or do we think that? Do we like the images the way they are, or do we think that maybe a little bit of color correcting might be needed?
Blue.
I like it. I like the way it's tinted blue. I like that it's almost monochromatic to blue.
I can't help but think this would be a wonderful cyanotype.
Very nice. If we don't have any other comments, we'll go ahead and move on. Lens, Jackie says the lens was actually 18 to 200 Canon lens on the bearded. And Kathy says she's not quite sure if the color is natural. I'm not sure. I'd like to see it because, like I said, I see a little bit of warmth potential in those fingers. I'd like to see it maybe color balance off the white of the leaves. And I think those little tendrils there will pop a little bit of orange or something, and it may give you some really nice complementary colors. Let's move on. Ed and Hinky, and these are twin turtles. Do we have any information from Ed on this one, Chris?
Give me a minute to find them.
Ed's got such cool stuff. That he photographs all the time. I haven't seen Ed in the chat. If he is, speak up, Ed, and tell us a little bit more about these shell turtles.
I don't see these in the thread, dear. Sorry.
Don't see them in the thread. Let me make sure I don't have anything from Ed here.
Are they yours?
It's a
Oh.
I have a couple. I have so many emails back and forth from a couple different people because Ed sent them to the wrong email at first, and then let's see. Do I have notes? All I have for Ed are all photos were shot with a Nikon D6, 105 millimeter 2.8 lens. The orchid and the pansies, he used photo stacking. Let's go ahead and move to one of those. Pansies. Ed said he used focus stacking on this one. Absolutely fantastic. Does it look a little warm? Does the color temperature look a little overly warm to everyone?
Yeah, just a little bit. Even the green is showing up as yellow. That could be reflections, but...
Gotcha. What do you think, Mike? Oh, there you go.
Nice bright colors. Yeah, and it's all centered really well, I thought. Looks pretty good.
Yeah. Fred, we haven't heard from you in a while. You have any thoughts on this one?
It's a great image. It's nice. You know, I don't really shoot flowers that much or macro. I mean, I'm trying at it. I'm not very good at it, and I don't really know. You know, I macro to me should be sharp all the way around, but that's just my opinion.
Gotcha.
And close up.
Orchid by Ed Hinky. Christine, what do you think of the background on this one?
I think it'd be better if it was black or white, maybe a little brighter. I like it, but it just seems muted in the background.
Yeah, it needs to go one way or the other. I agree. Anyone else think about that? What do you think? Lewis, you have any thoughts on this one?
No, not really. It's a nice shot. I'm not sure where I want to look in this one, to be honest with you. It looks a little flat to me, to be honest with you. I think if I were doing it, I would have boosted the colors a little bit. But other than that, I don't have too much to say about it.
On my screen, the colors are a little bit more saturated. But to be honest with you, I'm looking at the stream, which kind of steps on the colors versus in Lightroom, and I'm not entirely sure if I like them muted the way they are or if I like the colors on the right. It's not that the colors of the original image are overdone in any sense of the word. It's just I'm really liking the delicateness of the image on the stream, especially if he were to make a nice clean white background. I think that they would really work well.
Yeah, I agree with the background business. I'm seeing in my head that either a white background with a feather going into the edges of the flower, or a black background with just that would pop all the colors out better.
Wow. Fantastic. Good shots, Ed. Another thing with the flatness is if he were to experiment with some small light sources as well, I think he'd really make something nice. Mike Thomas has what are they called, Mike? Lume cubes?
Luma cubes, yeah.
Luma cubes. And
But
those
flashlights should work.
well, the Luma cubes you can actually go in and change the RGB of the LEDs, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. Very nice. Very nice, Ed. Thanks for sharing. Dolphy. Dolphy didn't give me much information on this, I don't believe. Let me double check. And Dolphy moved. I think Dolphy liked Bombay Hook so much he moved out there. But Dolphy is a longtime club member that moved out to around Dover, Delaware, and it's been really great seeing her in the streams again.
I love the water drop on the back of this. Is it bee or wasp or? But I think it's really cool.
I'm trying to find. I think Dolphy kind of squeezed this one in at the last second. I need to see if I can get it. Double check here.
She's in chat, so she might be able to give. She said it was shot with a Panasonic.
Okay. I don't know what kind of a bug. That's some kind of a wasp. He looks mean. I don't know if that's one of those new what are they called, murder hornets that are supposed to come out because 2020 is not terrible enough. But I mean, Dolphy. First of all, I don't know how he flies with all that water on him, but I absolutely love the fact that you can see the flowers in the drop between his wings. I think that is just amazing. Any other thoughts on Dolphy's image? Okay, let's move on. David Joyner. This is kind of different for David. David is always doing just these amazing architectural lines and stuff, and this is just fantastic. I think maybe get a little closer into that ball that's in focus. But let's see if I have any. Does anybody like to talk about this? And I'll see if I can find the information on David's shot.
Oh, this is really neat. I like the reflection right in the middle. It looks like maybe him taking the photo.
That is cool. David writes, they were taken in April using a 17 to 28 2.8 lens on a Sony A7R III camera. The bokeh on that is just amazing. That's some creamy bokeh. Very nice. David's second image. An interesting scene. This reminds me of the Simpsons one we had earlier. And we were okay with Marge being out of focus. What do we think about the cow in the front being out of focus since it's in the foreground?
Part of me likes it. Part of me.
Go ahead, Chris.
Part of me likes it. Part of me wishes it was a little more in focus.
Let's bring in Bob. What do you think, Bob?
It's a bit odd having the brown cow out of focus. I'd probably crop in a bit because there's a lot of white in the left and the top, especially.
Right.
It detracts from the subject.
Yeah.
Lewis says he thinks it's distracting.
Thinks it's distracting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Good.
And what do we think about the kind of busy background in the far right?
Yeah, that doesn't help.
And the way the light kind of softens the edges at the top and at the bottom.
Jackie writes in chat she would like to see the front cow in focus. Mary Lou says the same thing. And Janet says she's not sure what that is. It's cool, but she's not sure what she's looking at. I'm thinking she's talking about. It almost looked like some kind of a party, like some of those party things you can get to put on your table as a kind of a centerpiece. Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Go ahead, JC.
No, I was just gonna say when I'm looking at a photo, in order to get me to look all the way through the photo, if the thing that's the closest to me not in focus, I have a hard time with it. I have a hard time going to look in the back of the photo and then come forward. I always like to look at the front and then go to the back of the photo. So to me, I'm like the rest of them. That was kind of like I would love to see the cow in focus, at least that first cow in focus. Then I could walk myself through the rest of the image after that. But once that thing that's closer to you is out of focus, to me, it's like, well, where do I go from here?
Kind of gives you a disconnect. Good observation.
Jackie says the shadow to the right is distracting, and Janet says it's a bit too bright white, but it's almost like a dream like image.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. But still, if the white, if you've got completely blown out white in the back, that's not a problem. You could call it high key, but the problem is the tonality of the whites in the subject are so dark too. If you lit everything like wispy white, I think it would work a little bit better.
That's good.
Yeah.
Nice scene though.
David's third image. And I have no idea what this is.
Oh, you've got one of these, don't you? Or
That's
is
a
it one
lens
of those
ball.
balls?
Oh, is that a lens ball? Is it tinted? Maybe he colored it that way.
Yeah, it looks a little more orange in the ball versus what's outside the ball.
Yeah.
I kind of like the out of
Very
focus
dramatic.
lines in the background with the in focus lines in the ball. It's an interesting photo.
Interesting composition too. Dolphy says in the chat, turn it a little bit to the left. I don't know. I kind of like the diagonals the way they are, but if I was going to do anything, I would bring that kind of dark thing that looks like the ball's sitting on down into that corner. I'm not sure. It's very
make the ball
interesting.
the apex of a triangle.
Yeah. He makes you stop and look at it though, so he's doing something right for sure. Very nice, David. Hey, we got Christine. Let me tell you, Christine, I showed Christine several years ago. I showed Christine these HO scale little people. We have all of HO scale God's little people in this house now. Trash men, UPS men, photographers. I think we need to go to therapy, Chris.
I had fun with these. This first image, all my images were with my macro lens, my 105 millimeter, and looking for the information because I didn't write it down. But this is actually two images. I tried to focus stack this image, but it was too far distant from the girl with the camera back to the brownie. So I ended up just cutting her out of one and putting it where I wanted her. And I thought this just turned out really cool. I don't know if that's supposed to be her chimp in the back of the camera or if it's a brownie camera that she's taking a picture with, but that's what I chose to believe it was. And I just had so much fun taking this shot and using the brownie camera with the little HO person in front.
It was fun watching her shoot this, but yeah, I can definitely see you cut it out and you put it in the brownie. She did shoot a focus stack, but the problem is none of the techniques really wanted to do that extreme of a scene. But the way she had it set up was really, really cool. Next one.
This was a bonsai tree that
Stopped at bonsaiing.
that died in our window upstairs, and I just thought the leaves were beautiful, so I brought it down, put it in the box, and just got some of the leaves. I did Photoshop out some extra leaves that I thought detracted from the image, but I just had a lot of fun bringing out the details in the leaves.
I wish I had known you liked those leaves because 2 nights ago I took tweezers and pulled the leaves off. Well, the leaves were all kind of knurled and kind of looking bad, and I liked the image of the little bonsai tree that just kind of looked like fall, looked like the leaves had already fallen off. But yeah, unfortunately, it was one of those. It is one of those bonsai trees they sell you. It's not meant to be inside, but they tell you can keep it inside. And then of course it dies a month later. So, but yeah, very nice, Christine. Anybody else with some thoughts on this one? I like the. Go ahead, Bob.
The busy detail in the top right somewhat detracts from the gracefulness of the leaves in the center of the image.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
And it almost looks like maybe if you kind of twist it a little bit so that those lines weren't perfectly horizontal, that might have helped a little bit as well. But then I wouldn't have known what you had up top anyway.
That was the best organization of it that I could get without totally knocking all the leaves off of the tree, which I was really trying not to do.
Oops. I like how the background has a little bit of a bluish tint to it, and the leaves are more brown. Very nice. Did you use any kind of a flashlight? Did you use something a little bit more warm light or what?
Not on this one.
Huh. Interesting.
This was just inside the light box. And
Mary Lou says she loves the arrangement of the leaves. Susan says the comparison between the pale background and the paleness of the leaves needs something to pop. I don't know. I don't know if it would be as strong of an image if those leaves were kind of smacky in the face brown. I like the very muted kind of looks. I'm not sure. Let's try it. Let's go to the next one. Hey, more HO scale people.
this was actually shot in preparation of my presentation, but didn't make it because I had other shots that I liked. My absolute favorite one was the guy fishing that ended up being the last photo of my presentation, but I felt I should use other photos. This one was in the light box. I used a flashlight with a red filter in front of it, and that's why you have the red on the leaf and on the front of the people. And I liked that it was Grandpa fishing with his grandson with the flower behind him. And I just thought it was a fun photo.
Interesting. I'm not sure if the red helps or not. Maybe if you would have put the red in the background and kind of made it look a little like a sunset, maybe that would have helped a little bit better. Not sure. Any other thoughts on this one before we move on? Okay. Good job, Chris.
I just think it's.
Go ahead, Mike.
I just think it's I'm as attracted to those scale people as Chris is. I think the scenes that you can create, it's very Lilliputian, and the transposing those miniature people with larger objects is cool. I almost wonder if you could Photoshop some real faces on there so that they looked even realer.
That's creepy. I bet you could. I'm not sure. That's interesting. Christine has a great eye for putting these things in interesting spots. My mind goes to what these little HO scale people are usually used for in the photography world, but she really can put them into some really interesting scenes. Good work, Chris. Next is Cheryl Kerr, Clematis the President. Let's see if I've got Cheryl's information. Clematis growing in her yard. She loves the color combination up close and the curling petals, which she used to focus the attention to the stamens, which are hiding in the pistil. Canon EOS Rebel T6i, Canon 50mm 1.8 lens, manual mode, shot at 2.8 1/60th of a second with no tripod. Very sharp, very, very sharp for a handheld, Cheryl. Very nice. Any other thoughts?
I would have liked to seen that V-shaped background piece filled in somehow by changing the angle or something. But at least it's pointed straight at the center of the flower, which is the point at the star of the show.
Right. If she would have gotten right and low and kind of centered that green background right behind the center of that flower, would that do we think that would have worked out a little bit better?
It's possible.
Yeah. Very nice, Cheryl. Cheryl again, Spring Toad. She writes, found this little fella that had just emerged from hibernation near the shoreline of Cache Lake, skinny and weak, sitting in a sunbeam shining on the forest floor. As she knelt down, he moved a little and placed his eye perfectly in the sunbeam. Was quite the trained model. Canon Rebel T6i 50mm 1.8 lens, shot at 1.8, 25/100th of a second. Eye is in perfect focus. And I think we've got a little bit of a leaf that's out of focus in the front, but it doesn't bother me at all. What do we think?
I like it. I think he's cute.
Yeah.
And again, on a stream, he looks just a little bit dark, but in Lightroom, he's those shadows are a little bit brought out. Very good tones on this. Very nice, Cheryl. Go ahead, Bob.
The eye nicely focused.
It's perfect. Absolutely. Very nice, Cheryl. And Cheryl's third image, 1940 biological survey. She discovered this during a forest walk along the Ridge Trail at Cache Lake. She's never seen a biological survey marker before and thought she'd give it a try with the macro format. T6i again, Canon 50 1.8, shot at 1.8, 32/100th of a second. What do we think about her choice in the depth of field here?
I kind of like it. It's interesting. You can see the cross in the center and that it's a biological survey marker. I like it.
Ooh.
I like how it fades off into obscurity.
I think you're right. I don't think it would be I don't think it would be the same if she really focus stacked or really cranked down the aperture to get more in focus. I think it really adds to the character of the image. Any other thoughts on this one?
Maybe a wee bit more focused towards the cross, at least.
Yeah, that's an idea. If you would have focused on the cross, though, you might have lost out that biological survey. So it's kind of one of those you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because right now it's kind of focused on the 1940, and that may have been her purpose all along. But the thing is, if you would have focused on the cross, I'm not sure what words are there, and if you would have been able to tell what it was.
I was thinking increase the depth of field just to pull the cross in as well. Not lose anything you got, but just add a bit more.
Right.
But
We just had Lewis leave. Rich, I haven't seen you come back in StreamYard. When you do, let me kind of give me a wave or send me something in private chat, and I'll add you back, bud. Good work, Cheryl. I'd like to see how you would print that, and maybe you can tell us in the chat how you would print that and how you would mat that, because I think that's just got such. I could see this as a maybe a collection of images, maybe a triptych or a diptych or something. I can see maybe doing something like that. But very nice, Cheryl. And Cheryl writes in the chat she did want to focus on the 1940. So good job. Kathy Hockle with A Rose is a Rose. Christine, why don't you start off with that while I try to find Kathy's notes.
I like this. I like the black and white. I like the dark background and how the stem fades down into it. It's well focused and it's a very nice image.
Kathy writes she used a 105 Nikon macro lens on a D850 body, tripod, and a shutter release cable. 12 to 20 inches away from the subject, and all the images she tended to use f6 to f10. Found that a bit more in focus in the images after I looked at the ones that she was using 5.6 at, and did process in Lightroom. Now what's the important part of a tripod and a shutter release cable, Chris?
It stops shake of the camera, and therefore you can have a longer open so that it doesn't shake as much.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could tell here, I mean, this is next level sharpness. Great job, Kathy. Not that tripod and handheld is not going to work, but especially at such a slow shutter speed, I mean, but the toning on this is just amazing. The only thing I see on my screen, which could potentially be a little bit on the bright side, where the stem meets the flower on the bottom, I can see a little bit of where you might have missed your burning in of the background. So just go into Photoshop, go in the Lightroom. What I usually do is I'll either add a brightness and contrast mask, a layer mask in Photoshop, and I'll crank them one way and then I'll crank them the other and just kind of make sure I don't have any tool marks. Or Lightroom, you can go in there and crank it one way and crank it the other way and kind of get an idea where your tool marks are. What does everybody else think about these tones?
I think it's a lovely processing. I think she did an excellent job. Everything seems to be sharp where it needs to be. The light on the black dark background really pops.
Beautiful lighting too. Amazing. Good job, Kathy. Let's go to Kathy's next one. Shellscape.
I like this. I like the diagonal of the out of focus shells behind it with the front one following that diagonal. The focus on the sand in the front is kind of nice.
If you turn your head to the left a little bit, it looks like a grumpy face. Do we like the fact that all that extra? I mean, if you look at the background, everything's out of focus, but I think it really adds to the image. What do we think? Do we think it would be as strong of an image if she just cropped in directly on that little shell?
We definitely know where the focus should be, and she showed us. Mm-hmm. I think this is a great way to bring attention to the foreground object.
Fantastic. Any other thoughts? Okay, let's move on to Kathy's last image. Kathy with I See You.
He's cute. Good focus on his eye.
Perfect. I'm seeing f32. So Kathy used. Cool. Kathy did a great job at stopping down that aperture and extending that depth of field.
Well, the thing I see, I like it, is the catch light in the frog's eye.
Oh yeah.
As in the other image that had the frog, it didn't have a catch light in it, and this gives it more of a lively thing. But f32, wow, is after you get back to a certain point, don't you just kind of lose it?
You'll still there's still a definite when you check your focal distance calculators, and it's crazy math involved in that, but you can go online and do my camera body is this, my lens is this, I'm going to shoot at this f-stop, I'm going to focus this far away from the lens. It'll tell you where your acceptable focus is going to be front and back.
Hyperfocal, like with.
Well, hyperfocal does use that. Hyperfocal is the spot where you're stopped down, you're getting perfect from the as far forward to your infinity. But that's definitely using the same math for sure. But yeah, she did a good job. I don't think it would be as strong of an image if she used, let's say, a 2.8 and just made the eye itself sharp.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is 32 is really, really high. Yeah. I would think that what do you call it? 16 would work, but it just depends how close you are to the frog. But it's great, just like it is.
Yeah.
I'm just a wow about 32 as an f-stop.
Do you see the triangle? Do we see the triangle in the image?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
If anybody on the chat, if you can't see the triangle, kind of squint your eyes so that you lose all the focus of the image, so you just see the blobs of color, and it's that's very interesting.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do the macro lens shoot a little bit? When you run into a high f-stop like that, don't they have high f-stops a little bit better than the regular lens? Do they?
I know they usually have higher f-stops that they're capable of. Christine's goes to f45.
Oh wow, okay.
But the thing is depending on the closer you are focused, the smaller that depth of field is. So sometimes that doesn't even help. So you need to focus stack for sure.
Yeah, that's nice there though.
If you'll hold still.
Yeah, right.
Nah, I
You
need
got to
to.
get it in one lick, but it is great. I like I say, it looks real good.
Now I can't look at a camera without a tripod.
Very nice. Very nice, Kathy. Bob.
Yeah, this was a focus stack of several images. Try and get it sharp all the way across.
Now, who is that? Isn't that I thought that was the bus driver for the Magic School Bus. I don't think she's
Exactly.
qualified. She's not qualified to be giving shots. No.
It's Miss Frizzle, yeah, the Magic School Bus.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're dead right.
She's overstepping her authority.
Yeah. I actually tried to get the very tip of the syringe highlighted, deliberately placed the lights
Mm-hmm.
to do that. So it's a little tiny bright spot.
Oh, yeah. It's missing just a tiny drop at the end of the needle, though. And knowing you guys are crazy enough that if you would have gotten that drop, you would have focused in on the drop and then gotten her refracted in the drop.
No, the photographer in it.
Yeah.
Bob, that's nice. That's
Thank
nice,
you.
Bob.
That's good. What kind of lighting did you use, Bob?
It's a single spotlight. I have this little 1 watt LED that I use. On the web page, I go into extraordinary detail about how this whole thing was put together.
We don't want to lose everybody and show Bob's just crazy detail, but he goes into really great detail. Go into our Facebook page under the macro assignment and look at the support images Bob has created, and he goes into excruciating detail, which is just fantastic if you're into deconstructing light and understanding that you can make this work with anything. So Bob does a really great job at showing that off. But fantastic! It looks like her eyes are in perfect focus, as well as the bottom of the glass of the syringe.
Yeah, I did 2 versions, one by moving the camera,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other one by moving the focus plane. And they both came out pretty well. I think this particular one is moving the body.
I would be tempted to. I know it would be a little on the nose, but I would be tempted to put like a computer monitor in the back, and you know that graphic they have of the COVID-19 molecule.
Oh,
put
boy.
that behind her or something. But maybe a background, some kind of and that's a cool thing about macro too, is you can go through your images, you go through your old photos, and you can pull up a background and just size it perfectly on a monitor.
Yeah, when I did this first, there's another version I posted on my own personal Facebook, and it says, Lysol, don't try this anywhere.
That's great.
Yeah, really.
Next image, Bob. Tell us about this one.
This again is another focus stack of something like 50 frames.
Wow.
Holy.
And it's on the living tree. It's an early blossom. And I put a plastic windbreak around it. And I used a small flashlight, one of these little sort of things that take 3 AAA batteries, to give it a bit of lighting on the petals, and spent about 2 hours rendering the whole thing black in the background.
Wow. Bob,
Again,
this is perfect, except I'm seeing a tool mark right in the middle. Right to the right of that red.
On one of the the focus stack, it sort of goofed up on that.
Yeah,
it's fuzzy.
They do it so easily. If you would have taken, I don't know it should show. If you would have taken and just taken a clone of this saw leaf here, and kind of worked it back here, you probably wouldn't have noticed it at all.
Oh,
but maybe a thought.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now you see it behind the red bud. There's a sort of black thing that looks like it's cut out.
Mm-hmm. And they're hard to see. They're absolutely very hard to see when you're previewing through either Helicon or Photoshop. You're like, oh, that looks great, and
Right.
it's like, yeah, it's hard to it's easy to miss it.
Right, right.
Very
It's
very
nice
nice,
image.
beautiful, Bob.
Again, it's fully documented.
All right, what is this?
You don't recognize it? You're in the business.
Oh, I recognize it. I've torn many of those apart to steal those nice neodymium magnets.
Yep. It's a disc head.
Mhm.
The thing is only about 2 millimeters top to bottom. And it's lit sideways. And this time I didn't need to do anything to get the background jet black. I just made this black hole, which is a little cardboard box of black paper,
Mm-hmm.
hole cut in the top so light goes in and doesn't come out, which is how I got this nice black background without having to do any fooling around.
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of color noise in that, Bob.
I probably did a little bit of sharpening.
Gotcha.
For this one, to get that close, I used bellows and an extension tube.
Wow.
I used the Pentax f1.4 lens. And when you stick it on a sort of modern camera, there's no control over it, which is great because it means I can set the aperture to whatever I want and it'll stay that way.
That's
So I
fantastic.
sort of everything at full aperture and then set it down to f11 for the actual shot.
Okay.
And just about get everything in focus.
I'm going to hide my screen for a little bit while I get Elaine Hambley's images into Lightroom real quick. Did anybody learn anything new with this photo assignment?
Oh, yes.
What'd you learn, JC?
I started learning how to focus stack. No, that's one thing I'm learning how to do, and it's I never really shot with that macro lens, and gave me some experience shooting with it, and it's very hard with a macro lens to get perfect focus from front to rear. Not unless you're on the same focus, not unless your subject and your camera is on the same focal plane. By keeping them on the same focal plane, you do get a lot better focus. That's the way I did that mushroom. I made sure that I had the mushroom and the camera on the sensor on the same focal plane. That way I was able to do one shot and get it pretty in focus. So there wasn't no focus stacking, just one shot on that one. So that focus, keeping the image and the focal plane, the camera on the same focal plane really helps a lot for your focus.
It's tough. When you can learn how to get focus on a macro lens that close, you'll never have problems with focus again.
Right.
It's kind of like hard mode on photography, but it's kind of like what is it, Othello? Easy to learn, difficult to master. The macros are a lot of fun. I have Elaine's 3 images here. Let's bring them up on the screen. This is her first image, Singer, and this is, what is this called? Is it presser foot? Is that called a presser foot?
That's a presser foot. And I love this. I like the darkness at the top and how the whole foot seems to be in pretty good focus.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the divots in the side of the reel that holds on the foot. You can change it out if you need to, but I love all the details.
This reminds me of the stuff that you shoot if you go to the Baltimore Museum of Industry. They've got a lot of cool stuff like this, and I'm not sure where the focal point is though. It seems a little bit on the soft side. It's 1/50th of a second. I'm not sure if Elaine's still with us. I know we're going a little late, but if Elaine's still in here, if this was on a tripod, it may have been a little sharper. But I think it's suffering from a little bit of camera shake. Otherwise, the tonalities are great. I'd love to see more of this.
Yeah, I like it too. One of the things that she might want to try is on the corner, on the edges, they got the white around that edge, up in the left hand on the right hand corner up on top.
Yeah.
Kind of like either clone that out or do something with it because it kind of draws you that way. But I like the whole image, even if it's soft. You know, I sewing machines are something else, and I see that she's got a thread coming out of the bobbin, and that's it's hard to catch.
That's wild.
It's a nice gold color to it.
Yeah, sure is. I
Good
just
warmth.
like it.
Yeah, that white on the top right almost looks like maybe the result of a filter or some kind of a tool in Photoshop or Lightroom, just because it's too perfect. Let's go to the next one. Colored pencils. These are amazing to shoot head on.
Yeah.
So it shows that she was really thinking about doing something a little bit different, because everybody shoots these things head on.
I know.
So I give her a lot of credit for that, for going in trying to find something new. I like that the colors seem a little muted on my my other screen, which I like. I like the, you know, going a little brave and going a little muted on something so colorful. Any other thoughts on that?
I love that the background's so out of focus and that the front pencils are what is mostly in focus, but the softness of especially the brown one right in the center and the back, it just gives an interesting contrast.
Gotcha. Do we have a problem with the backdrop? It seems there's a little bit of a cool spot on the left,
Yeah.
a warm spot in the middle, and then a shadow on the right. Just maybe, you know, and that's kind of one of those things when you learn when you start photographing people. You clone out so many trees coming out of people's heads that you finally start looking at the background. And the same thing is for macro. It's even though it's going to be out of focus, just the colors and the tones are going to get you every time.
Maybe if it was uniform across,
Yeah.
less obtrusive.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it would make them pop a little bit better.
I wonder if a darker background would have made them pop.
Oh yeah. Very nice, Elaine. And we have one more image. Elaine, I do see Elaine in the chat. Let's see. She had the camera. She was kind of balancing the camera on the table. Elaine, tell us about this. But this is just fantastic. I love the age of this. And what do we think about it just being smack perfect in the middle?
I like this. I love the peeling of the paint, the grain of the wood. It just tells a story about the use of this sewing machine.
Anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Just curious how it was done. Is it a filter on top of the letters, or were they painted?
Typically, these would be either hand painted, and at first I thought maybe it was like a gold. I don't know if Singer ever used like a gold kind of leafing paint, but it's definitely it definitely seems to be a buildup of paints.
It says this was shot in a late afternoon with her Canon 70D 103mm ISO 1600 4/5 of a second f/18. It was on a tripod, and she focused on the side of the case for her antique Singer sewing machine because she liked the wear pattern and the grain of the wood.
You can't fake a wear pattern like that. That's decades of love.
She says in chat that the letters were usually either hand painted or rubbed on.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Beautiful, Elaine. And unless we have anybody else that wants to discuss any of these, if we have anybody in chat that has any questions, we will wrap this up.
Oh, you missed my. Tell him I had a comment.
Sue's got a comment.
Just
Yeah, I had a question back on Terry's first image.
Sure, let me see if I can
Whatever
find
that
it.
little piece of nature was, and how well the depth of field did not become a problem.
Let me
You
get
can
over
put
there.
that one back up.
Yeah. Which one are we talking about?
The green one.
The seed pod, we
Right.
think. What was the question?
How
was your
come
question?
you got it all in focus? No depth of field problem.
When I'm looking at it on my screen, I think it's so small because the background is out of focus on mine. If you look at the leaves and the texture of the ground, it's definitely soft, which is fantastic. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And even the pricklies, kind of far in the back are a little bit out of focus as well. But it's definitely wide. It's definitely wide open or close to it at f2.6.
That was f2.6?
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely.
What kind of camera was that?
Let's see. She had said, I think this was one of the iPhones.
Yeah, because
okay.
2.6 is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's 7.3 millimeters with the iPhone, and it's got that smaller. It's got the small sensor, well, smaller in relative to an SLR, so that helps as well. But yeah, iPhone 11 Pro Max.
Yeah, because you start seeing that some of that.
Yeah.
Because camera phones tend to have more depth of field because they're so much smaller.
Right. It's a lot more difficult to get those creamy portraits for sure. Well, everybody, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the panel. I'd like to thank everybody for sticking with us this late. We usually don't like going this late, but when there's people willing to talk and ask questions and give great comments, we keep it a little longer. If it's ever too long for you, you can always close the stream and come back. Mike asked in the chat, if you like the format, let me know. It's we're always pushing the envelope, and we're always going to have something break and screw up and something that we got to fix. But this wouldn't be for every stream, but it would be something that we can kind of talk about. Next week, we're going to go a little crazy. We're going to invite everybody into the WebEx conference, and we're just going to see how it goes. Now, I do have the theme of going a little bit more subject in your photographs. But really, it's kind of a, hey, let's all get together and shoot the breeze. And if we happen to talk about photography in the middle, then that's just great. Does anybody have any?
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Does anybody have any final comments they'd like to say?
Thank you, John. Have a good night.
Thanks, JC. Thanks, Fred.
I
Mike.
gotta run. My jet lag is getting me.
Uh-oh.
Understandable.
Well, with that, we're going to close out the stream. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and we'll see you next week.